he told me the first 6 months I was going to the chambers was to not talk about the business. And I was like, okay, what do I talk about? He goes, just get to know people. And it was brilliant what he was doing. He was taking the pitch style networking person out of me, and it worked beautifully. I just got to get to know people. I got known as a giver. I mean, when you help somebody out, let's face it, most of the time they're going to remember that, and they're going to do what they can to help you in return. So it's very, very true.
Welcome to the Habit of Possibility podcast, the show about turning obstacles into opportunities. I'm your host, Robbie Spier Miller. Today, Shane Cullis, the membership manager at the Burlington Chamber of Commerce, is joining us. Shane is a master networker, and he's going to share with us his insights on how to grow your business by building authentic connections with people and how to approach entrepreneurship and sales to create success. Before we begin, we have a special announcement. We have been having many requests these days for help with managing stress and navigating all the change happening around us. So we are offering free 1-hour stress management workshops, both in person at our training facility in Burlington, Ontario, Canada, and online via Zoom. Check the link in the show description for more info and to register. Now, let's get started with the show. Hello, everybody. This is Robbie Spier Miller, the host of the Habit of Possibility podcast. And today I'm here with Shane Cullis, who's the membership manager at the Burlington Chamber of Commerce.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Intelligence and genius. That's not usually something I'm involved with, but let's do this.
There are all kinds of.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So share a little bit about what your experience has been with this. Like, do you have some stories from your own life where you had experiences that gave you evidence that you were on the right path or that you really wanted something?
Well, yeah. I mean, in my career, I've been doing sales for 30 some odd years now, and there certainly is something to getting into the mindset of knowing that you can do it. Partially it's, if I've done it before, I know I can do it again kind of thing. But I have found myself getting into, struggles. I go a little dry sometimes as far as bringing in new opportunities. And one of the things that actually helps get me out of that is actually just thinking about the fact that I've done it before, I can do it again. So today I'm going to go write a deal. And oddly, that really does seem to work for me. So yeah, it's been kind of a mantra I've had since I was in my early 20s. I had a great boss and mentor back then that kind of pointed me in the right direction and always talked about positive mindset. Sometime right now it's hard to be there, but if you can stay there, it's very helpful. Absolutely.
Yeah. And action's where it's at. And even if it doesn't go quite the way you want, when we take action, we learn from whatever happens and it moves the agenda forward.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think all of it takes effort. If we're going to get good at our craft, we have to be out there practicing it every single day. So, I mean, it's not just in my case where I'm trying to manifest that, sales and opportunities for myself. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of, hunting and gathering along the way to make sure, in my case, that my sales funnel is full so that I know I have more opportunities coming. And I mean, that's what Scott Bridger and I, and my counterpart at the chamber, we spend most of our days focused on. It's our job is to get new members and grow the membership, because the bigger we grow, the more opportunity there is for everybody. So we have to be out there every day, hitting all different events and all this different stuff to actually be able to achieve the kind of success we've been able to achieve, for sure.
Yeah, and that's a great model for people in business, because I think a lot of people who are starting out in business haven't had to go through that. If maybe they were an employee or they did something else beforehand, they might not have been through that process of, I think of it like planting lots of seeds, and some of them will grow and come to beautiful fruition, and some of them won't. And to be willing to accept that as a way of life. And so that's really true no matter what kind of business you have.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, so last year we saw a big rush of folks that were coming out of their corporate life and wanting to do their own thing. And quite often those are the folks you're talking about that, really have never done networking or have never had to hunt themselves. So they it's new to them, and they're, a bit like a deer in the headlights at some of our events and all that stuff. Now, personally, I love seeing those people though, because it's really fun watching them come out of their shells when they do get there. So, yeah.
I agree. And I coach a lot of business people, especially established businesses, but many, many people who are new to owning their own business. And something challenging is that when they work full time for another business and they get a regular paycheck, there's a lot of security and stability in that. And they're not really reacting to what's actually happening in the world because they're used to getting that regular paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's a snowstorm and nobody shows up because of the snowstorm, they still get paid. Whereas
Oh,
if
yeah.
you own a small business or a bigger business,
Mm-hmm.
that there's an immediate response to whatever's happening, whether it's forces of nature or otherwise. So we need to be proactive.
Oh yeah, yeah. You see this a lot with financial advisors that are stepping out of a bank and starting their own business. When you're at the banks, you're fed the whole time, and then they have to step out and do it themselves. And it's so fun watching them at events because you'll see them in the corner on their phones and all that stuff. And it's like, no, no, come with me, getting them introduced to the right people so they see how it all works. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't take long. Once you see it working and you see the benefits coming in, it actually gets much, much easier to do.
It's true. Yeah. And, I can speak to that personally because I used to be really, really, really shy before I started my business. And so I had to really decide that I was going to go out and talk to people. And it wasn't easy, but now it's easy because I've
Yeah.
done it so much. But I really relate to that. And so, and I help lots of people learn how to do that better
Mm-hmm.
with what we do here. But the thing I find really inspiring is seeing people who do grow through this and realize this can just be part of everyday life and it's
Oh
no big
yeah.
deal. And they can even enjoy it
Oh
and
yeah,
have fun with it.
it's one of the best parts about it is like you get to watch your own, if it's your own business, you get to watch your own passion, your own baby gets to grow, and you get to have fun doing it. Very important. I mean, the more fun this stuff is, the more we want to do it, and the faster we can grow our businesses. But you see it all the time. I've been doing this for 17 years now with the chambers, both with Oakville for many years, now with Burlington. And so I'm in a lucky spot where I actually get to see folks that, I met that long ago and watch what their businesses have turned into and the different directions they've gone throughout the years. And it's just a really cool experience to watch these folks just kind of either come out of their shells or have this business just take off. I have a million businesses coming to my mind right now that I've watched that, this happen with over the years. And it's a really cool experience.
Yeah, and I would add to that what's really interesting about being part of the business community is you get to know people who run all kinds of businesses and
Mhm.
from walks of life maybe you wouldn't have met otherwise.
Yep.
And that's really interesting. I think
Mhm.
it adds to your life.
Oh, yes, it absolutely does. People are interesting, and we all have different stories. We have different backgrounds, um, and it's. I love the one-on-one conversations because that's where I get to hear all the more fun stuff. Yes, we always talk a little bit about the business, but usually with the one-on-one conversations, that's where you're actually learning about the other side of the person. How they actually run their business, sure, but also a little bit about themselves. Because let's face it, typically, if we've connected with somebody we like, we tend to be a bit more open and we will share more personal stories, which is also very, very interesting. And when you learn more personal stuff about each other, it actually helps you help each other grow as far as your businesses go, and actually also in your personal lives too.
Yeah, and some of
Yeah.
these people become your actual friends over
Yep.
time. That happens too.
Oh
So,
yeah, a lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. I have people that I met. I started my business 19 years ago and I was part of some networking groups at that time, and there are people I still know and do
Mhm.
business with to this day from that time. And it's like you're part of the community.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah. And we also never know when it's going to come back to you too. One of my favorite stories to tell is I had a friend of mine that who I'd known her for 10 years. We'd never done a lick of business between the two of us, but we just got together for a coffee to catch up. And I was just starting with one of the chambers, and she said, "You know what? I gotta introduce you to my neighbor. He owns a restaurant." And I'm like, "Oh, very cool. That's nice." And restaurants are great for chambers because they're event space for us and all that stuff. Turned out the fella owned 27 restaurants. So it was a wee bit of a bigger opportunity than I thought I was going in for. So you never know what's going to come out of it or when something is going to come out of it. It can be years down the road.
it's true. And even to just be open because you never know also who the person you're talking to knows and
Mm-hmm.
what kinds of connections they have or how they might offer to help you.
Yep.
So sometimes people surprise you. And I think that openness, some people are like overly selective when they're connecting with the
Oh
business
yeah,
community
yeah.
and then they miss out on certain opportunities
Well,
as they go.
it's not always about who's in the room. It's about who they know.
Yes.
Like I have a great example for this, which is I'm part of both the Burlington and Oakville Dads groups, and I do their golf tournaments, and I will always randomly join a foursome. And the one time I ended up sitting with a guy who was the president of a business of 500 individuals. I had no idea. I was chatting with him all the whole day, and at the very end of the round, he just asked me what I did, and I told him, and then he told me what he did. The 2 weeks later, I was at the other dad's tournament, and the same thing happened, except it was a much larger company of 1,100 members, and he was actually the decision maker that I actually needed to speak to. So you never know who you're talking to. You never know who you're sitting with. And of course, we never know who folks know. So it's, yeah, you really should take some time to get to know folks one to one.
Yeah.
This is where we learn. It's not, the events are great for getting you introduced to each other and figuring out, the right people to meet and all that jive, but you really learn about each other when you're doing stuff like this.
Yeah. And ultimately, we're just people.
Yep.
So no matter how big or small the company is, it's just connecting with people that makes the difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is. Yes.
Yeah. One of my my oldest friend that I'm still friends with, she had a job in marketing and for a career that was very impressive and never had a problem getting a job. She was employed for, I'm going to say, 3 decades straight. And every time that a job ended or she wanted to switch, she'd just find another one. And within the last year or so, she got laid off for the first time in her life. And so she started to do networking. And she said she'd never considered that before, but it led to her writing a really interesting collaborative article with somebody she met through networking, and it led to some job interviews and consulting opportunities. And so she started to really appreciate the value of it. And one of the things I've found is that when you connect with people and it's the right fit, things can happen really fast because it's the right fit. So you just move forward, and you never know when that's going to happen.
Yeah, and you also don't know which direction it's going to go in. It was last year or the year before, I connected 2 friends of mine, business networking friends, but friends now for sure. And they're creatives, and they do web design and stuff like that, and content and all that jive. And they've gone in a totally different direction. They have actually just launched a children's book series, which is called Story A. I'm saying I don't care. And it just sounds like an amazing story. It's this customized story that for children. I never would have expected something like that to come out of that relationship, but it's comical, and they're in funding stage right now, and it's going to take off. I'm certain of it. So
yeah, the creative energy, you never know what's going to come from it. Yeah. For those of you who might be shy about networking, or, some people think they're bothering people. So even though they like people, or they might not be shy people, they worry that if they approach people or start a conversation that people don't want to talk to them. And the thing that really helped me change this, because I used to definitely do this, was I started to focus on what was, what could I do to help others? And so I wasn't making it about me. So how could I connect with people? How could I make them more comfortable? And what could I offer them? And when I look at it that way, it's a lot easier to connect. And then you see you're giving value, because a lot of people are relieved. Somebody's talking to them. They feel welcome. Maybe you are offering them something of value, and they're going, wow, thank God I met you, or thank God you can introduce me to this person or that person.
Yeah.
So there's a discovery happening through that as well.
Yeah. People are going to smile at this, but giver's gain is real. It is a very, very true thing. It's actually how I did it and how I kind of built myself up. My old boss, when I was at Intelligent Office, he told me the first 6 months I was going to the chambers was to not talk about the business. And I was like, okay, what do I talk about? He goes, just get to know people. And it was brilliant what he was doing. He was taking the more pitch style networking person out of me, and it worked beautifully. I just got to get to know people. I got known as a giver, which, I mean, when you help somebody out, let's face it, most of the time they're going to remember that, and they're going to do what they can to help you in return. So it's very, very true. If you go to the table with the intent of helping other people, they will help you in return. I've experienced this. I've seen so many of our members experience this. And one of the greatest things that we're super proud of at our events is the feel of them. Sometimes you see a closed circle conversation going on and you feel, oh, I probably shouldn't interrupt. That'd be rude. That's not the case at our events. That's just another spot for you to go chat and get to know folks. I mean, it's Burlington, right? So I think all of our events, whether it's, my chamber stuff or any of the other events that I run, they're all reflective of the Burlington community, which is a You watch what all these other groups do out in the community, and you see there's very much a family feel to it, which is great because it just makes it all that much more fun to be a part of.
Yeah, for sure. And when you go out of your way to help somebody, generally people really remember that. They appreciate it. They remember it because very many people do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when you really are curious and interested in them, it makes an impact because they feel seen and appreciated by you.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It's got to be genuine, of course. Sometimes people need to learn how to get their own fears or discomforts out of the way, or self-consciousness. And I was doing a talk the other day, and one of the questions at the end was, how do you get people over imposter syndrome? And so I was talking about how imposter syndrome, which if people don't know what it is, it's when people who are generally very successful are always worried that somebody's going to find out that they aren't really very capable after all, or they're going to find out that they messed something up. And they're always on edge about that and fearful and stressed and worried, and they feel like they need to keep achieving and achieving and achieving to avoid that. It's a very common thing with high achievers. And so I was talking about how the way to shift that is to realize it's not about us, because imposter syndrome is about fear that we're not okay. And we're really just here to help others, no matter what kind of business you're in, or whether you're a parent or a community member, or no matter what you do, somehow we're all here to give to others or to the community.
Yeah.
And so the more we put our awareness there, the easier it is to stay connected and focused on what we can give. And so we, in hypnosis, we talk about how the word hypnosis, the guy who named it, his name was Dr. James Braid, and he regretted naming it hypnosis because hypnos means sleep, and hypnosis isn't sleep. And he wanted to rename it monoideism, which means a single idea or obsession. So the idea is that we are all always obsessed with something. And so with hypnosis, we're learning to choose, to have the freedom to choose what we're obsessed with, so it can be towards an outcome we actually want. And so when we're really focused in this way, we can be obsessed in a healthy way with connecting, with looking for how we can help people. And when we're doing that, then the self-consciousness drops away. And I've done this myself, and I've helped many, many people discover how to do that. If you just take that idea and you start to picture that, it may help you a lot.
Oh, yeah. I think a lot of us kind of go through bouts with imposter syndrome, for sure, absolutely. And I know I have throughout my career many times. Actually, one example of it was actually the very first time when I was chairing the breakfast committee for the Oakville Chamber, and the very first time I had to get up and deliver the whole entire opening and host the event. I performed on stage for many years doing comedy, so I really don't have a problem being on stage. But when then I had to get up in front of business people and I had to do a professional talk, I had never been so nervous in my life, and I've done some pretty silly stuff on stage. So it was really strange to feel that kind of those nerves come in and questioning my abilities to do it. And it was really funny, actually. I ran through what was supposed to be about 15 minutes of speaking. I ran through most of it in about 3 minutes, and the president of the chamber at the time stopped me partway through and kind of calmed me down a bit, which was so helpful because I would have been done the entire breakfast in about 5 minutes. So it's funny when it creeps in, but his calming voice at that moment kind of brought me back and reminded me that, oh yeah, wait, hold on, you do know how to do this. You've been doing this for a long time. You're fine. And then the rest of the breakfast and most since have gone pretty well. So.
Right. So even sometimes if you're a seasoned speaker or networker, sometimes we have life stages that shift how we feel about it, or biochemical changes or whatever. So it's really good to remind ourselves of that focus before we go to events like this, so that we're clear about why are we there, what matters, what's the priority.
Yep. Yeah. I actually had a moment of it very recently. There was another performer in the room. And my head went, oh no, she'll know when I mess up. Oh no.
She'll tell everybody.
Right?
She'll never live it down.
A moment of panic right as I started speaking, but I managed to bury it and got through it. So yeah.
Yeah. And some people, when that happens, and nothing bad happens, they can create a story in their mind, imagining something bad happened
Mm-hmm.
or being really hard on themselves about it. And that just makes it worse because it's harder to learn and do it better next time if we're really hard on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So a sense of humor about the whole thing is good.
Yeah, I have a bit of a self-deprecating sense of humor, and there is a reason for it. It is pretty much exactly what you just said. So that's the way I get through it. Well, that one's done. Let's go on to the next one.
Yeah, whether it's also, I had a client once, and she was from a background where the emphasis was more on the group or the community than on the individual.
Mhm.
And so she was struggling with this because she was being pressured by her family to sacrifice what she wanted for the family instead of doing what she wanted. And in our culture, people generally prioritize what they want,
Yeah.
right? We're not as community oriented that way. And I think there's a real sweet spot here. Sometimes we take what we want or our self-consciousness like way too far and it's not useful. And sometimes we take giving to others too far. I bet you can relate to that, Shane.
Mhm.
Because you're one of those people who gives to everybody.
I may have, I'm being told I have an overactive need to help before. That may have come up in a conversation. Yep. Mhm.
Maybe. It's possible.
Yeah, the same guy who put me on the right track too. So yeah, no, it is one of those things. I think I mean, part of the reason we do that stuff though is because you actually do get pure joy out of it.
Yeah.
Is being able to helpful, and it's one of the great things about what I do for a living is I actually spend my days helping people. So it's a pretty cool experience, and it does feel good.
Yeah, for sure it does. And in my experience, the sweet spot has been being able to give to others and also take care of yourself. So
Oh
you
yeah.
can see yourself as one of the people you give to,
Mhm.
that it's not just them or you, it's them and you.
Well, you have to think about number one. I used to like pretty much hate that statement because I mean I have a daughter, I have family, and I would always put them above myself and all that stuff. But there's the analogy with the airplanes when the things drop. If you don't put yours on first, you might not be able to help the person beside you. So I mean we do have to think about ourselves, for sure. But it's just nice when we get to kind of help others while helping, number one, I guess, at the same time. So,
Yeah, you really want it to all fit together. But
yeah.
a lot of people do take that really far. We have many, many clients and students who come here for help for exactly that reason, because they're really struggling to handle their life because they can get really caught up in giving too much.
Mhm.
Sometimes they even do it to ignore the things they need to change about them because it's a lot easier to notice what other people need or help them and instead of noticing what we need to change and actually changing it.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, we're all very good at giving advice. We're just not good at listening to ourselves when we know we should be doing something differently.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, are there some examples of what you do at the chamber to make sure that when people join or become active in the chamber, that you give them evidence that it's worth it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think one of the big things that we bring to the table is we help our members do much more targeted targeted networking. It's great. I mean, our rooms have 200 plus people in them. So it's hard for a new person to walk in because they don't know anybody. And that's where I come in and my ambassador team comes in. Hey, folks. That's where like all those folks come in because what we do is we actively look for the deer in the headlights or that person standing by themselves. And we get to know them, and we actually take them to the people they need to meet. So, just a quick one. I know every financial advisor wants to meet every accountant, mortgage brokers want to meet financial advisors. All the different contractors out there want to meet each other because they can support each other with their customers, but also in many other ways. So I just try and help our members build referral sources. And the goal is that every single member that comes to an event is going to walk out with 2 to 3 connections with the right people that they're going to meet with one-on-one, because that's really what we're going to learn about each other and how we can support each other. So yeah, we're actively connecting our members, both at events and also in between events as well. I think I probably make 3 to 5 connections a day right now. So and it is all about getting folks to the right people. it's wonderful. We get to make a lot of really great friends doing this stuff. But we do have to build our businesses. We are here to make money when we're doing this stuff. So you do need to get to the right people. And again, that's where we come in and make sure that's happening.
Yeah, awesome. And this is a great example because I think the Burlington Chamber is doing a beautiful job of that.
Mm-hmm.
Not every organization does. Not everybody lives in a community with that type of opportunity. And we can create that opportunity for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, if there isn't somebody facilitating, there's more space for us to become the facilitator of that. Just naturally, somebody doesn't need to give you the title.
Mm-hmm.
And I've met people over the years who've been awesome at that. They just take on that role unofficially.
Oh, yeah.
And it's amazing. And the response people have is like, wow, that person really just wants to help me.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels really good to
feels
be
great.
in the, to have that experience. So I really want to encourage people, first of all, if you are in a situation where networking will help you, to really have fun with it and learn how to get better and better at it. And if you need help and resources, you can ask. And then on top of that, to look at how you are building things in general and set things up so that you have some data to go on. So Shane was just talking about meeting 3 to 5 new connections a day. So he's got a metric. And Shane, you know whether or not you've met those 3 to 5 new connections a day.
Yeah, it's 3 to 5 connections I make for other people.
Okay,
I need a lot more than that on most days. So,
okay. All right, cool. So you know exactly what the target is, and you know whether or not you reached it. I'm sure every day you do,
yes,
but if you didn't, you would know.
I know.
And so things can't go too far off the rails because you're aware and you have something to measure it with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people, especially newer business people, don't create that kind of setup for themselves. And then they're kind of taking shots in the dark and there isn't enough structure or feedback. So they don't know, am I on track? What do I need to learn? They don't really have enough feedback around that because they're missing the metrics.
And they may not have the experience with it. So they don't know that they need to set goals and targets and all that stuff. And that's where coaches come in to really provide that support because you do need to have daily targets, daily goals, weekly, monthly, yearly targets and all that stuff. Because it just kind of gives you a target, it gives you something to aim at. And so, I mean, we, in sales, we're very target driven. So we know exactly how many calls we need to make, how many events we need to do, to achieve our end goal, which in my case is new members coming on. So yeah, we're very keen on keeping aware of what we need to be doing on a daily basis.
Yeah. So cultivating a real respect for that and building that structure into your life will serve all the business owners really well. If you don't have it yet, or you're not, some people have it and they just forget about it, or they blow it off, or they don't meet their first target and then get frustrated and don't believe it's possible. So I think the small achievable wins matters.
Yeah, we have to be realistic about our targets. So I've got my work targets, but then I've got my own personal targets. So my work targets will be less than my personal targets. I always try to, overachieve when it comes to my personal targets. And I'm lucky I quite often hit them. But if I don't, don't get too fussed about it because I've done it before. I know I'll do it again. It's just that month it didn't happen. Oh well, on to the next month.
And you learn from it, right? You can look at it and say, what didn't I do here? Were there outside factors? And what can I do to make that better?
Oh, I usually know what I did when I didn't hit target.
Well, some people don't know. So that's good. You have this self-awareness and you're willing to look at it. Some people find it really uncomfortable. They just don't want to admit
they don't want to blame themselves.
Yeah, or they just don't want to know. So the willingness to see what's actually happening and level with ourselves about it does help because then we can do something about it.
Well, you have to hold yourself accountable. I mean, it is what it is. And, if you struggle to hold yourself accountable, again, this is another spot that coaches are great for because there is accountability when you're meeting with a coach. There's accountability groups. And if you struggle with accountability, I would suggest looking at some. If you need information on accountability groups, I have lots. But there's lots of ways to make sure that you're keeping on track, even if you aren't good at doing it yourself. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So Shane, have you, in your career, was there ever a time where you felt like you just wanted to make it about the people and you didn't care about money or sales, or did you have a time like that in your career?
I work for a nonprofit. What do you think?
Yes. There's a reason why I'm asking this question. I sense that this was true.
No, no, I'm joking. It's it. When you make it more, it just for me, it's just so much more fun when I make it more about others. And luckily, I tend to get the financial return on that. But yeah, no, I mean, it's just more fun when you make it about others. It's easier when you make it about others because it does come back if you are genuine about it, right? I mean, we're adults here. We can all read when somebody's putting on a show for us. I mean, the genuine people are the ones that deliver after the fact. Hey, I'm going to do this for you. This is a really important piece of networking, folks. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you say you're going to connect, do one-on-ones, do it. Put it in your calendar, make it happen, because that helps back up, the for the other person anyway. The feeling of how genuine you are. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And Shane, I'm asking you this question because I have come across lots of people starting out in business who want to ignore the whole money part of things, or they feel uncomfortable asking for payments, or their whole relationship with that. They think like maybe it's a spiritual thing, and they just want it to magically happen. And in my experience, when people pay for something, they value it more, and they also are more accountable because they're invested in it. So it helps people when they pay for things.
Yep.
And I think it's really important to be, as for me, my job is also helping people. That's why I do what I do. Yes, I happen to get paid for it, and it is important that people pay because it helps them be more successful.
Yeah.
So it's all a package, just like giving to others and giving to yourself is all a package. Giving to others and them appreciating it with payment is also part of a package. And you just trust that it's going to come together. It's not so direct, because sometimes you do things and people don't pay, or you'll go out of your way more than you get compensated. And other times it's totally the opposite. And so it's like a whole direction. It's a package of experiences that's happening.
Yeah, it's so it's one of the nice things that came out, out of that masky stay-at-home time we went through a little while ago, was I think people came out of that understanding that we really need to support local. We really need to support these local businesses and get out there. And it's not about getting deals from people. Right? You can't, we all need to survive. So we have to charge, at proper rates and not devalue our brand or our services at the same time. You're paying for quality service. You're paying because you know that the person you're working with is trusted. That's what you're paying for. It's, that they're going to deliver on what they've promised you. It's not about getting deals. I mean, hey, if we can help each other out, sure, that's awesome and all that, but it is about the deliverables at the end. Yeah. I was a junior salesperson for a company, and they weren't allowing me to focus on any of the bigger commercial opportunities. I would always go to the more senior folks, but I kept landing the opportunities and getting the doors open, and then they would take it away from me. So one day I just asked them, I'm like, can I just follow this one all the way through? And it was actually back when I was in the energy industry, and I had approached one of the radio stations about just taking over one of their towers. Just one tower. That's all I wanted. So I took an entirely different approach than what other folks had seen. And then we ended up, after a few months, we had the entire radio stations, all of their towers across Ontario. So it actually became a really big opportunity quite quickly, actually. So it was kind of a cool achievement. And that was something that I did when I was in my early 20s. And it really kind of changed, certainly at that company, how people looked at me as far as a salesperson go. I was no longer the kid anymore. I had the ability to go after the big stuff. It took a lot of effort, and it actually also took a shoulder to lean on from one of my mentors at that company. He kind of helped set me up. I knew I was not over my head, but I knew it was a big opportunity. I didn't want to mess it up. So I met with my mentor at the time, and I think I met with him 3 times before I went in to close the deal. And he kind of, helped me massage the wording I was using and whatnot, and set me up for success. So it was really great. So mentors are very valuable, people. They're very, very, very valuable. I hope every one of you has one. If not, get one.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, it's a great shortcut to success because you can learn from their mistakes.
Right. They've been there, done it, and Yeah, and I can steer you in the right direction. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that must have felt pretty awesome for
Yeah.
you to get that win. And so you showed yourself what you could do, right?
Yep.
You gave yourself evidence, you gave other people evidence.
Yeah.
And I bet your view of your skills changed after that experience.
Well, yes, especially after I saw the commission check on that one.
Now we're all curious about how much it was. It's okay. You don't have to tell us.
Well, I'm not gonna.
So what drove you to, like, you came up with this idea. What would you say was like the thing that attracted you to really pursue this?
To pursue
That deal.
Oh, to pursue that. That was, it was me trying to prove myself. It really was, because I kept getting nicknamed the kid early on in my career. And although that was the first one, oh no, that was actually, sorry, it was my second job that happened. And I got nicknamed the kid at both of them because I was, if you know me, you know I'm not quiet. I'm a little loud, and
No.
I was always pretty good at sales, luckily enough. I always understood that it's about relationships. So I come from a big family. I have 9 brothers, stepbrothers, and brothers, and all that stuff. So I mean, I'm used to supporting other folks. So I guess what attracted me to go after that was about proving myself. That really was about proving myself. I was, being considered a junior is fine when you're, when you're younger, but when you keep getting nicknamed the kid, I really wanted to get away from that, because that was kind of, in my mind, in my head, that was holding me back, because they looked at me as a junior. They weren't allowing me to go after the bigger opportunities. And actually, luckily, I had established a good relationship with the vice president at that time, and he's the one who actually kind of pushed it forward and gave me that opportunity to go after it. So, when I got there and we got the deal and all that stuff, and we got our success out of it, I wasn't the kid anymore. I didn't get looked at that. They realized, oh wait, he actually can close, just like, the seniors who've been here doing this forever. So it was a nice little personal achievement. I'll say that.
Yeah, good. So they actually did you a big favor by calling you the kid.
Yeah,
If they
looking
hadn't,
back on it,
maybe
yes,
you
I
wouldn't have done
suppose.
that.
Yeah. No, I might not have. You're right. I might have been the push that I needed to actually prove myself at a higher level. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. For me, I've been doing this work where I help people achieve their potential or their goals. And I've been doing this for almost 20 years now. And one of the things I've observed after seeing thousands of people is that a lot of what the role people are playing in life or where they're at depends on what they imagine is possible for them. Mm-hmm. Which is why I call this podcast The Habit of Possibility, because it really changes things. So it's not necessarily how smart they are, how many talents they have, and even who they know. If they don't see themselves as capable of doing certain things, they're less likely to go for it. Mm-hmm. And so building this structure of giving yourself evidence that you can do things, even if it's in small steps, helps build towards the next thing. Mm-hmm. Like I know some people who come from families where they're the first one who graduated from college or university. And so to their family, they're like, wow, you did it. But to other families, everybody does it. So it's no big deal. But the people from the other families, the chances of those people graduating are way higher because they believe they can do it because everybody does.
Yeah, because everybody in the family does it.
So there's power to who you're surrounded by. So if you don't come from a background like that, or maybe you feel insecure about certain things, and things like imposter syndrome come from that. Maybe you have high achieving parents who also had imposter syndrome, so you grew up looking at things that way. Mm-hmm. The more that we really focus on giving ourselves this evidence, the more the insecurities drop away.
You definitely want to surround yourself with the right people. The folks you surround yourself, they reflect on you, right? So if you're surrounding yourself with people that are negative all the time, it's going to bring you down quite a bit. Over the years, I've been really trying to focus on, getting away from folks that are constantly negative, because they will bring me down. I mean, I buzz when I'm in a real positive room full of energy. Like I speed up, and it gets actually a little ridiculous.
Yeah, I've seen
I know, in the breakfast
it's
a
awesome.
little bit, yeah. But I mean, unfortunately with me, the same happens if I'm in a room that's got a lot of negativity. It'll pull me down. Mm-hmm. So I really, really spent time, kind of curating the friends that I hang around with on a regular basis, my closest group. Which is quite large now, because I mean, most of the chamber members are my friends now too. So, but I make sure I spend my time with people who just, it's not always bad. It's not always, you have to listen to, like be somebody's shoulder to cry and be there for them. Absolutely, 100%. That's a wonderful thing to be able to do. But when the folks are always negative and they're always down, like they might need this person right here. Maybe make that suggestion.
Yes, I do have lots of people with that.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think what you're saying is that there's a certain attitude you have about life, and then there's the things we go through in life.
Mhm.
And some people, their attitude is such that everything's negative, so maybe nothing really bad's happening, and they're making a big deal out of it.
Right.
And other people, huge challenging things are happening, and they just know how to interact with it in a really resourceful way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, how we look at it from a hypnosis point of view is we have hypnotists all around us all the time. So our friends, our family, the people we spend the most time with, they're having a hypnotic suggestibility on our subconscious minds. It's just the way it is.
Mhm.
We're all going in and out of hypnosis all the time. It happens just like breathing. So if you know that, the more you're surrounded by people who look at things in a way that's more about possibility, the more likely that you will look at things that way.
Absolutely.
And they'll give you responses to what's happening that will help you go in that direction.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's so much value in being around positive, successful people. Just the different doors that get opened when you're with those people, because they're also much more likely to genuinely try and help you too.
Yes.
Right. Folks who, in my experience, that are really always stuck in a negative mindset, they tend to be only thinking about themselves. And I mean, doesn't make them bad people, not at all. They just need some guidance, maybe need some help, and if you can help them with that, that's fantastic, awesome. But we just gotta, keep a level of balance up here for ourselves so that we can do what we want to do, as far as whether it's helping people or, growing our businesses or whatever that may be.
Yeah, we need to stay focused on future outcomes.
Mhm.
And I think people get themselves in trouble when they get too focused on the negative things that happened from the past, or their fears about what might go wrong, which is what imposter syndrome is all about, right?
Oh,
People
yeah.
are afraid of what might go wrong.
Mhm.
And when they're focused there and they're obsessed with that, then they're missing the things that can go right.
Yeah, use what went wrong to make the next time better.
Yeah. Yeah, Shane, so way back from when I was in my early 20s, I had wanted to start a business, but for many years I didn't. But I had these ideas and I would ask for advice. But at one point I went to this small business advisory group, and they were retired business people who gave people advice on starting a business. And so I came to them with my idea, and they said to me, "That looks really hard. Why don't you go work for the consulate?" They wanted me to go be like a secretary. So what did I do? I did get a job, not at the consulate. I got a job typing medical letters, like medical transcription, because I was really good at that. And I really regret it, because even if I had failed when I was 22, even if I'd failed at that, I would have learned a ton. And I would have also discovered what it's like to be a business owner. At the time, it was a mystery to me. And so I would see other people succeed. And, I just wasn't quite sure what was happening behind the scenes, because I'd never done it before. And I don't come from that type of family. But once you've done it, you're like, okay, I get how it works. And it's not it looks more doable and achievable.
Yeah, well, even your most financially successful people out there, you'll see a lot of them speaking now and doing speaking opportunities. And that's one real common thread with all of them or with the majority of them, is that they talk about how they failed so many times to get to where they've gotten to. They just learned from each one of those experiences. You don't dwell on it. You don't keep it stuck in your head or anything like that. You got to learn from it. Like, learn from yesterday. Yes. Learn from yesterday. Do better tomorrow, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So the people with imposter syndrome, they're worried somebody's going to find out. The people you're talking about, they actually are willing to share the things that didn't go well and show them as learning experiences. And it's a very different way of interacting with life.
Oh, yeah, absolutely it is. Hey, every day, if you're not learning, then you might have wasted your day. All right. Every day is full of learning moments.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 30 years. And I'm still getting caught off guard, whether it's by something new that, a new 20-something salesperson is saying and going in a different direction, or, it's a 60-something salesperson and they just say things differently than I do, whatever it may be. There's so many opportunities to learn and get better at our craft and get better at, everything.
can always be better. Yeah.
Always. Yeah.
One thing that I've observed recently is that when I was younger, I called the era that I'm talking about BC, which stands for before children. So before I had my kids, I did a lot of traveling. I went to many countries in the world, sometimes by myself, sometimes with other people. And I loved it. I loved just being somewhere new and having that adventure. And since I built my business and had my kids, and now my kids are teenagers and they're pretty independent, I have more freedom to travel, and I have done some traveling, and I've come to appreciate that a lot of the adventure that I get from travel, I actually get through my work, because I'm learning all the time, which is an adventure, and I'm meeting different people all the time, which is also an adventure.
Mm-hmm.
So I can have that every day.
Yeah. Wait, couldn't you just like hypnotize me into thinking like I'm on a beach in Maui or something right now?
I can.
Because I could use that, because that ain't happening anytime soon. So if you could just...
That's easy, Shane. We can totally. That's one of the easiest things we can do.
And by the way, while I'm on that beach, I look like Brad Pitt, just so we're putting that out there too.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll have to hypnotize everybody looking at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And so I think that framing this as an adventure and helping people learn how to have fun with it may be helpful, because I've met many people who they love going on a trip for adventure, but in their everyday life, they're too into security or safety or following the rules. Mm-hmm. And so they don't want to put their foot out and try something new or stretch themselves. And to me, that's where all the juice is. You always need another mountain to climb. You always need a new challenge, right? A new experience somehow. And I see business that way.
It is. I saw so many new members last year that were actually half in building their business, which isn't ideal. You'd rather be all in on either building your business or, working at the job that you're at. But it's a nice sort of way, actually, kind of transition. A friend of mine who is my osteopath, I'm going to be seeing in about 30 minutes. She was a police officer and wanted to change and do something else. And she kind of did them at the same time. So she was able to transition, and she is now a full-time osteopath. Just opened her own center. Her grand opening is tomorrow. So, she's really kind of taken a step up, but she allowed herself to be able to baby step it while still having some of the protection of the job. And allowing herself to get out and do it. It was networking that really kind of helped her kind of boost quickly enough to, after a much shorter period of time than she thought, launch the business fully. So
right. Yep, so she was giving herself the evidence that she could make enough money doing it before she left the stability of her job, which is great. And many of our hypnosis clinics start that way, where people stay at their full-time job. We help people with other kinds of businesses who transition that way. And I think it's super important when you're starting a business, because you don't want to be worried about money. You want to, and if you're not having your basic needs met, it's natural to be worried about it. So you want to have all of that taken care of, if possible, in some other way, so that you can genuinely be there for the people and give value. And that's really how businesses grow beautifully.
Yeah. It's a much more comfortable way to do it. So, and I saw a lot of new businesses start up that way last year, and I watched so many of them switch into becoming full time because it grew a little bit faster than they thought it was going to, it's always great to see. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's inspiring. I love seeing people show themselves they can do what they didn't really think they could do. It's cool. That's where all the juice is.
Yeah. Oh, it's very, very cool. The osteopath, Sarah was telling me that she just never expected it to go this way. Not this fast. It ramped up so fast. And I can think of a bunch of other businesses right off the top of my head that, had a very, very similar experience. They got out there, they got out meeting people, and they watched their businesses grow. And also extremely positive people. I'm going to point that out too. Extremely positive people. So I think that was a big help for her and for a couple of the others that I'm thinking of right now. So
yeah, because people are attracted to positive people, right? They're attracted to that energy.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. I for sure am. It's kind of my shtick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Smiling's a good thing.
You can reach Shane Cullis at burlingtonchamber.com. Join us for our free 1-hour stress management workshops. Go to the link in the show description to register. And if you're interested in connecting with me and learning more about personal and business coaching, consulting, and training opportunities, go to mindlinkconsulting.com or hypnosistrainingcanada.com and schedule your free consultation. Let us know what you think of the show. Reach out to us at mindlinkconsulting.com. And if you like the show, please rate and review us so other people can find us too. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Robbie Spier Miller, the host of the Habit of Possibility podcast. Tune in next time to learn more about how you can turn obstacles into opportunities and make the most of your life and career.